Afternoon, everybody. We're talking about the topic of travel today, so we'll be up here for the next 20 minutes. I think for me, travel isn't just about leisure. It's not just about having a break or grabbing some sunshine. I think there's something around the self-discovery, journeys of self-discovery that can come from travel. Sometimes a real journey of transformation for people. It's an opportunity to connect, whether that's with travellers or with, I don't know, somebody in a far-flung corner of the globe. And I'm really privileged today to be here with some experts in travel, bringing kind of different types of travel, from kind of trains through to cruising, walking, and also looking at the fact that travel really should be available and accessible to all of us, whatever our challenges may be. So I am managing director of a company called Jules Verne. We curate small group journeys all around the world. I'm also an NLP practitioner, and I'm a women's empowerment coach. And the thing I love that is really magical and ties those two roles together is what comes when we step outside our comfort zone. I really do believe that if you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're not growing, you're not learning. And as we've heard today on the other amazing panels, and they've all been incredibly thought-provoking, you know, we don't want to stay the same as we go through our life. We should be constantly growing and evolving and moving. And I think travel gives us a great opportunity to do that. So I'm just going to go very briefly to each of our panelists to introduce themselves today, and then we'll get stuck into some of the topics. So,
hello everyone, my name is Ivana. I'm from Seafarer Cruising and Sailing Holidays. I've been with the company for last 18 years. And we do everything to do with yachting. So anything from dinghy sailing, windsurfing, small sailing yachts, bigger catamarans to small ship cruising. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Carol Sargent. I'm from Sargent Group Consulting. I'm all about enabling people with dementia and other hidden disabilities to live their best lives. And for me, that's through travel, because that allows people to experience all sorts of different things and push the boundaries, as Debbie's highlighting, and take those learnings for what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy and continue to do them when you get home.
Hi everyone, I'm Alson. 33 years in the travel industry, and it's way too many. I started life as a ski rep, and I now work freelance for different businesses, which includes managing the partnerships for Ramble Worldwide, who are a walking holiday group. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm an adventurer at heart, and a travel enthusiast.
Hi everyone, I'm Sally. I work for Fred Holidays, which is part of the Fred Olsen Group. But I'm actually a train product manager, so I create rail holidays for Fred Olsen, which I can see everyone's like, I didn't know they did rail holidays. I thought they just did cruises. If I had £1 for every time I heard that, I'd be very, very rich. But yeah, I'm going to talk about some of the aspects of rail travel as we go through the panel.
thanks. Should we start by talking about solo travel, because this is really it's what we're seeing at Jules Verne, you know, this real trend now with solo travel, which is for us is growing. I think it's true to be said, it's there across the industry, and now it's sort of 54% of all our bookings are for solo travellers, and 71% of those solo travellers are women. And I think women are not necessarily travelling solo because they have to. Sometimes it's because they want to. They've spent their lives looking after children and families and that kind of thing. And sometimes they need to go out and have their own adventure. And there's so many opportunities out there to be doing that kind of travel and travelling solo safely, isn't there? Sally, do you want to start to talk about train travel? Because I think that strikes me as just an ideal way to travel and feel safe, although there's that support aspect, isn't there, we were talking about earlier, of having some really good solid advice to be able to do it safely as well.
Yeah, sure. I think around 96% of the business that we do for rail holidays comes from travel agents, and customers have walked in and they've said that they want to go on a rail holiday, and the travel agent's gone, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Because it's very easy to organise a holiday by air, but when it comes to train travel, it is quite difficult. There is no one-stop shop for finding rail tickets throughout Europe if you're wanting to do a multi-centre trip. So going to a specialist who can arrange that holiday for you. Train stations in some places can be, not the nicest of areas. So I think particularly for females travelling alone, they want that guidance on where to stay, how to get there, what time the trains get in. Is it still going to be light? Is the area going to be okay? So yeah, going to a specialist for that sort of travel is great. But you can rest at the same time as travelling, because train holiday is a really just much more gentle way of travelling.
And sustainable as well, because that's
sustainable,
another
that's
important thing, that we need to look after this beautiful planet of ours. Carol, we spoke earlier this week about, and I spoke to you about my father-in-law, who sadly died of dementia about 18 months ago, and I saw his world and my mother-in-law's world get smaller. They always used to love to travel. And it got to a point where she couldn't or didn't want to travel, partly because she didn't have the confidence and partly because she felt embarrassed. But it's really important, isn't it, that people realise that they can still travel, and even if that means or meant that she didn't travel with him, but she could have travelled on her own. Tell us about that.
Most people living with dementia are older adults, in their 70s, and travelling alone is something that they don't regularly do, and they lose that confidence. They've never done it. We've heard lots of discussions earlier today. Anthea said, she'd never gone and bought her own car, and we heard all different things. So for a lot of the people that I support, who you can see need a break. 50% of carers of people living with dementia spend 100 hours a week caring for somebody. That's more than twice the legal limit for anybody working. So people need those breaks. So it's about giving them the understanding that there are those holidays, like volunteering holidays, where if you're already caring for somebody, you're going to meet other people who are probably like-minded, and making them realise that if they don't take time out for themselves, which we've heard a lot today, then they're not going to be looking after that person that's so important to them. Mm-hmm. So introducing that and making people aware that they can go safely. The train is, a form of transport I encourage lots of our guests to use for that first part of the holiday. So it's not, oh my gosh, am I going to get there? You're already started the experience as you're going, but it's giving people that confidence and showcasing the difference it can make to not just them, but the people they're caring for.
Yeah, thank you. Should we talk about, Alison, I'm looking at you and thinking about the great outdoors and obviously trekking and walking, and how that is good for all of us in terms of wellness and mindfulness. In terms of, these types of holidays and the types of people you might see book these types of holidays, I mean, they're not all geared at the sort of 70 plus. We were talking earlier about this perception that everybody's sort of travelling with their sandwiches wrapped in foil and sitting down on a bench and having a little bit of a snack. But tell us a bit about these walking holidays.
No, not at all. I mean, adventure starts a lot younger these days, and everyone wants an adventure. Being outdoors in nature, I mean, it's top of the agenda at the moment. You've had the Princess of Wales talking about it, haven't you? And it does, I think it makes a massive difference to you to just to be outside. But it's more about, I suppose, mindful travelling, which is about slowing down a little bit. It's about enjoying the culture. We talk about travelling mindfully, but what is it? For me, it's just slowing down and really enjoying the local culture. And everyone of any age group is looking to do that. There's more and more, there's a lot of negativity around tourism these days. We've got these Spanish islands saying we don't want you Brits here. They don't want the Brits that come and sit in the bars and make a nuisance of themselves, let's say, but they do open their arms to people who want to embrace their own culture. And I think that younger and younger people are exploring. You see it on TikTok. If it's on TikTok, it's got to be young, isn't it, really? Because I don't know how to use TikTok. Where people are searching for places, and then places are becoming inundated because people want to go and see that beauty spot or this. So I think that mindful travelling, regardless of whether you travel as a group or solo, and you take that view, it's of a benefit psychologically and physically to any age group.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a bobble hat and your sandwiches and foil to enjoy it.
Thank you. And Ivana, the same goes for cruising and sailing, and again there could be the perception that the cruise ships are massive and carry 25,000 people, and they're getting bigger and bigger, aren't they, as the years go by, but there's still the option to travel on sort of small cruises and do sailing holidays where you can sort of just travel with a small group or a family or with friends and be outdoors and really enjoy it.
Absolutely. I mean, sailing is all about connecting with nature, and we're very much dependent on the weather. So whether you're going to go far or not that far depends very much on the weather and the wind. So it's very much sustainable travel and responsible travel when you slow down. You're not going to tick 5 different countries in one sailing holiday. But you're just going to explore the smaller area, but have more immersive experience within this area.
Yeah, thank you. Should we talk about bucket list trips? I'm kind of looking towards the back at Sarah and wondering how much more time we've got. But I think we've all got those bucket list destinations, and I think they kind of sort of come onto our radar actually from a very young age. I remember being at school and seeing kind of all of the pictures of Rio, and it just, I was just grew up wanting to go to Rio, and I eventually got there and was a bit disappointed, to be honest with you. But but there's also Venice, where I kept seeing all these images or Venice on the TV, and when I got there, it did definitely live up to my expectations. For any of you who've been to Venice, you'll probably know exactly where I'm coming from. It really does sort of live up to those expectations. But these types of trips can be transformational for us, can't they? They can just be so big, but particularly when we've spent so many of our years just dreaming of travelling to these destinations. So for each one of you, can you tell us about a big trip that really did, I don't know, either it ticked off a list, something from your bucket list, or you felt was really transformational? Sally? Yeah.
So being a rail enthusiast, I've been very, very lucky. I've been on the Orient Express twice. And the first time when my boss told me I was going on it, I just burst into tears because it was and then I cried again the night before, and then again when I got on it, and sort of occasionally throughout the journey. It was just absolutely amazing, but it wasn't the most sort of transformational, and I know we're short on time, so I'll try and keep this quick. When I was younger, I travelled a lot, going back to solos. I travelled a lot by myself when I had absolutely no money. And then I was married for a long time, and we travelled together. And then I was divorced, and I had a bit of cash. After that, I was older. And I took myself off on a trip into the Swiss Alps, and I stayed in this hotel. And I had this expansive time where I could do what I wanted, and I could have the kind of holiday that I had thought about having. And I hiked all day on the guided hikes. It was at a hotel called the Waldhaus. It's just outside Sils Maria. Just outside San Moritz. And hiked all day, went to the spa in the afternoon, went to bed early, got up, did yoga. The whole thing was great. Went on the Bernina Express, which if you only do one train journey in your life, let it be that one. And I came back feeling rested, re-energized, and confident. When I'd felt anything but leading up to that trip. So that was my treat to myself after I got divorced. And it was huge.
Thank you. Alice?
Okay, so mine was actually a solo trip up Kilimanjaro. It was, for me, bucket lists I've changed my mind about what a bucket list is. I actually think that a bucket list isn't a list to impress people. I think it's a list of what is meaningful to you, because it's something that you carry the memories with forever, and you can talk about, and obviously you do want to talk about. I could talk about all the time, but for me, it was about getting out of my comfort zone. I was a woman that never travelled without hair straighteners. Obviously, don't necessarily need those anymore, but, camping on a tent on a very big mountain, so for 5-6 nights, and I absolutely loved it. And it opened doors for me in my life. I've gone on to climb other mountains like Everest Base Camp, Aconcagua, and I've just moved out of my comfort zone in lots of different things in life, and that was the start of it. That was the start of ticking off my meaningful map and not just going to luxury resorts for holidays.
Thank you.
Really, I'm on a similar ploy. My bucket list one was actually last year for my 60th birthday. And I just wanted to have something really low-key with the family. And for the first time, I always put what they wanted to do first, or what my husband wanted to do first. And I said, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go for dinner. And I'm rubbish with remembering names. I haven't got dementia that I'm aware of yet. But we went to the hotel in Devon where you go on the sea tractor, all Art Deco. So I really wanted to do that. And it was a really nice holiday because I wasn't organising anything. I told them really what I wanted to do, and they all enjoyed doing it because they knew I enjoyed it. So, and that to me is in supporting, if you're supporting family members who are dealing with things like dementia, it's finding out what they really want to do and seeing them enjoying it. And that to me is magic.
Thanks, Carol. Ivana?
For me, it was my first solo trip after becoming a mother. So, when you finally get to the point where you feel, well, I can go on my own. I can do things myself. I don't need to hold two hands with me. And it was just a simple sailing trip in the Ionian Islands in Greece, where you can just feel the freedom that you can do it, and you just feel more confident coming back. Thank you.
Thank you. I think for me, actually, and just listening to all of you there, thinking about, well, what was my bucket list trip? And I think it was Peru. I went on a work trip to Peru, always wanted to go. But it wasn't really about the destination. It was that my son was 5, into Paddington Bear at the time. I think the first Paddington Bear film had come out or something like that. I mean, the irony that I used to watch Paddington Bear on TV when I was, younger than him. And so I took a Paddington Bear toy with me, and all the way around Peru, whether it was in the Amazon or at Machu Picchu, I took pictures of this Paddington Bear, and I could send them home. And there was something about that I just really enjoyed. I felt a bit weird, I have to say, because obviously when you keep pulling a Paddington out your bag, especially when you're trying to get other people involved, it was. But it's something I enjoyed about it. And he's now 14, and very much a teenager, and obviously gives me the death stare on a regular basis, and thinks I'm really uncool. Not that I then remind him of that time when I took Paddington Bear all the way to Peru. But anyway, I think we need to wrap up there. Am I right, Sarah? I'm kind of feeling that perhaps we're at the 20-minute stage.
It's so fascinating, and it's so inspirational. But I think you've just given us a wonderful flavour of what we can look forward to. So thank you very much indeed.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.